Hello, hello, hi, welcome, welcome. As I always start the calls, please let me know if you hear me pretty well. GM, Thor, Rocky, Blue, Julia, true name, yes, all good, right? You can hear me pretty well. Thank you for joining us. Today we're gonna focus, of course, on support scope. Um, we shared some topics, but please feel free to bring up a topic that you might find relevant that we have you are not discussing. Please, you are free to put it also in the chat. We're going to start now. Oh, we have just a couple of weeks left as AVC, so we want to make the most of it. Let's start. Okay, but we have a couple of topics, but of course we need to mention the post made by Rune yesterday that was regarding the new stablecoin. I think we were all aware about new stable, but this was at least for some of us, surprise that we're going to have as well pure dye. So we want to know if you have any comments on this before we start focusing on the main topics of the scope. Just to make like a very sum up, if we go back to what we know about new stable, it's basically the upgraded version of dye, right? And in the post it mentions that it's going to be with related to real world asset backing and regulatory compliance. So similar to that, it maintains a dollar peg, and new stable focus on utility, yield, resiliences. But it mentions something else. It's going to have a phrase function that is going to focus on the legal compliance, and this through governance votes. But we didn't know, of course, it's about pure dye. And in the post is mentioning that this focus a lot. It gives a lot of attention about decentralization. So it mentions collaterals like ETH and STETH. And then well, it gives a little bit more details. Not I mean, it's as the first post. I think it's explains a little bit what is going to focus on and the differences between new stable and diet per se. Let's not forget that diet will still exist, like it's not going to disappear, and I think that was one of the main issues or concerns for die users. But now it's you can upgrade your die, yes, to new stable or pure die, or you can decide no and still whole die. The post, it also mentions that pure die is going to be later than when it launches new stable. But of course, no, it could be years. So we'll see how that goes. Um, but yes, I think that this give us a little bit more light on what would we could expect from new stable, and we'll get to know more about pure dye in a couple of days. Since and the post, it also mentioned that there's going to be more news when it comes to pure dye, more context. So I think that we need to use this to ask questions, probably to have like very clear the difference between with um new stable and pure dye, now that they're going to be two stable coins. I don't know if there anyone who wants to share their thoughts on into these, but yeah, this was something that of course we had to mention. And if anybody else saw this coming, apart from new stable, do you saw that another uh, stable was going to happen in Maker. Maybe a new new, yeah, new gov token as well, apart from the one that of course we are expecting. But yes, I think that this is something that we also wanted to point out. Okay, these are the topics that we're gonna cover today. So the first one, it's since we've had many ecosystem actors, and I cannot mention them one by one, but we have like almost in all the calls, and a lot of them of course were experts in their field, and we had people that knew a lot about front ends. As The last one, it was yeah, our latest guest, Alex from Cowswap. He also gave us a little bit of knowledge and suggestions, advices. Not only him, but many other, let's say, experts on this field. So that's why we're working on currently in a proposal about guidelines for front end development. We believe that with all the talks we've had, the knowledge that has been shared, but many of them, um, we can have also suggestions we can share, and that's why we kind of like have this. So the first one, I think it's one of them was the common one that the most of the guests mentioned, and it was related to um, self-hosting capability. So this specific recommendation suggests that front ends, um, they should be downloadable and also able to host, like the users could also host, or I mean, these front ends can be hosted by the users themselves, which is not the case for every platform or every app. And it's important to have this option, since when you allow users to run their own front ends, what we're doing here is we are reducing reliance on, of course, centralized service. I think we're doing all of this in order to have more decentralization. I think that is we're all looking for, right? And so it reduce like centralized servers or centralized um, domains that are controlled by a single entity. So yeah, that's the first recommendation when it comes to um, the self-hosting capability. And of course, it did. In order for this to happen, it needs to be easily installed and in every, I don't know, PC or whatever you want to use the front end. Another point that we find important when it comes to an option that the front end should have is like small data sets. So these, for storing smaller pieces of data, let's say transaction records, let's say minor documents, um, and yes, we put it here to use the IPFS, and yes, and then that's for small data sets. And then when it comes to large data sets, of course, you need this option for critical communication platforms. Let's say the forum, right? And in here you can explore, let's you can explore solutions for decentralized storage. And why we believe that this is important to have, it's because this involve that the data, it's not storage in one main place, but it's distributed. And with this, we want to ensure data resilience without relying on centralized servers. There has been many cases when important data has been missing, and so we need to take into account this as well. Okay, and well, these two options or these two recommendations are about making software system less dependent on centralized platform, let's say like GitHub, and and more decentralized. So what we're suggesting is exploring different options like storing data on blockchains, or enabling users to host themselves their front ends or their own data. Of course, this would increase user control. This would increase resilience against different service outage or censorship. So when we are talking about the best front end, or whenever we ask to our guests, okay, what do you think users are looking for? What's better for users? What a front end needs to have? We've like kind of collect these recommendations or suggestions um, that we first want to share here. And if you have any feedback, or maybe you think that apart from these, should we should also take into account something else, please let us know. I think that right now we can see different front ends, maybe take the best of them, and maybe also notice what they are lacking of, and um, recommend what else could be improved. So that's the first step. In again, we're working on this, and if you have any other recommendation, please let us know. Reach out to us. Um, the next topic is about the modifications, especially on this scope. And let me just, it's too high. Okay, the volume. Okay, so this is about Rune's proposal, but focusing on this scope. And of course, we are going to notice about removal of guide tools, development budget, the 30 million SPK tokens allocated for the first 9 months, and also about token, the prefarming, the subDAOs, especially these two topics. So following the end of the initial 9-month period, an additional pre-farming period will continue until the launch of Spark. Rewards are calculated on a per block basis according to the anti-cheat formula. So all of these has been removed. And then the SPK portion sourced from SubDAO Workface Bonus Plus available immediately at token and as part launch. We still do not have a specific date for the launch of the subDAOs. We can probably believe it's going to be anytime soon, whether we don't know a specific date. But these are the modifications in the proposals. Okay, I think this is like the most maybe not important one, but one that we can explain us a little bit more. It's about our experience as an AVC, and what is it important to discuss the like the positive things that we have gathered, and also what could be improved. And yes, here we're going to focus on AVCs, but also doing something similar with the roles of delegates, with the roles of facilitators. This could only help Maker to, in the future, have better roles. So that's why we wanted to discuss this. We come up also with this topic since in the scope you have, of course, you a lot of to mention about the ABCs, but of course we all know that there won't be more ABCs per se. It will be committees, which we don't have any like much information about. So um, this is something that we're also working on. We believe that I think more ABCs as well are kind of like recopilating data that is going to be useful for Maker. So I think most ABC members can agree on the first one, that it's the main issue. It's the limited power. We started, and we don't have to go back to like too many years ago. If we just look back a year ago, exactly May 2023, um, at least to my perspective, ABC's had a little bit more power. Um, but nowadays, it's like, we lacked the authority to influence ADs, or I don't know, even when we want to, and I'm gonna put like a very specific example, because these are issues that we've seen weeks after weeks after weeks. So when we want to invite an ecosystem actor that is not an outsider, it means that it's working for Maker, and we've had this specific issue that I'm sorry we cannot attend because the information you're requiring from us it's confidential, and yeah, we cannot talk about it. So yeah, we are to understand that they're just following orders. It's like it's the process. Of course, it's an issue of confidentiality because that's how it says in the scope, right? When it comes to the lunch project, we are in a bootstrapping stage, so this cannot be discussed, or this is, this confidentiality topic. And oh, I see someone is with the mic on. Oh yes, do you want to add something, Paper? Oh, okay, that's a, I guess that's a no. But yeah, we have a struggle with that. So we are mentioning and we're putting out there the issue so we can all come up with a solution to this, because that's the main reason also what happens when you are asking a question in the forum on Discord and you get no answers, and it's because okay, they cannot provide us the answer because it's established that way in the scope, because we are in this bootstrapping stage. But one that is one of the main issues what we've had when it comes to okay, we cannot ask about this question during the call, and we all want to know. So we are aware that many people want to discuss specific topics, and sometimes during the call okay, there've been ways to let them tell us what's going on. But yeah, the main issue, big issue during this whole time, uh, the lack of communication as well that it's including here, and of course this has been w- leads to other problems. So operational confidentiality, that's something I was mentioning before. So yes, specifically with the launch project's confidential nature meant that AVCs kept in the dark, limiting their ability to contribute meaningfully. So yes, we are mentioning here the lunch project, but similar with different topics, proposals that we want to, meaningful proposals that we want to share. And because of the lack of information that we have, and whenever we asked information, we didn't get the response that we needed. It was hard to provide relevant proposals. And this is a very big issue because at the beginning, and I'm talking about a year ago, we had so much ideas that it was okay, we have this and this and this, and of course we didn't mention all of them, the most relevant ones, right? But as time goes by, it's complicated to, oh, let's see, we have here. Yeah, but that's, we are just, follow, it's okay. We're just following what it's mentioning in the call. But I think that this is good way to put it into here. I'm distracted with the noise of the, okay. Okay, now it's good. But what suggestions do you have for this paper? Do you have like any suggestions? Well, I keep mentioning this. Then I don't know if you wanna talk in the mic, but if you can go ahead and give us
Sure.
your
Yeah.
thought on this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can
I
hear
mean,
you. Yeah.
I, I think you did the best job you could with the limitations put on AVCs. I personally think that AVCs were a clever ploy to get community members kind of like sidetracked, right? Instead of being proactive and bringing your ideas bottom up, like you see at Arbitrum, right? There's working groups for all kinds of things, and half of them are crap. But you get some really great ideas because they percolate up from the bottom. Whereas AVCs, I think, in an ideal world, would have been like that, where they bring their ideas, and then those ideas get evaluated. But instead, it ended up into being like a Bible study group of, oh, here's the atlas, study the atlas. It was written by one person with no input, but it's the word of God, and if anything contradicts it, then that's misaligned and it's bad. And I think that's a very narrow-minded way that we evolved over the last year, and I think it's kind of a shame.
Thank you for sharing your perspective, paper. Yes, I mean, we can. It has been very different. At the beginning, it wasn't supposed to be as you mentioned, a Bible study, but there was a point when there were pretty ties and yes, the atlas, and that's something that I think it's important to mention. What ABCs, or maybe not ABCs, but the committees or the active roles in governance should be prioritizing or in charge of. I think that this is why we are discussing. It's not just to mention what went wrong, but also how, like you mentioned, right, in the ideal world. And this is something not just, again, not just for ABCs, but if we want Maker to have um like in the ideal world, it would be decentralized community, right? A decentralized protocol, a decentralized DAO per se, and um, it haven't, like, lately has been, and with the changes that we're going to see very soon, if if it passes, um, less participants. Um, I think we all understand that end game, it's one of the purposes, it's to have more participants involved in governance, but we don't see that right now, and if we also compare a year ago, we have way more participants than now, and soon we're going to have even less participants. Um so like, how can we make, like, more, I don't know if roles per se, but so we could have more participants and not just, six delegates. That's how it's going to be now. Um, but I see more people are typing. Yeah, make her great again. Yes. Okay. Please keep typing or typing. I'm going to also mention another really good point, which is the compensation and engagement issues. Um, so I think this is a very important topic, right? Compensation based on holding MKR tokens rather than effort led to minimal engagement from some ABCs. This is the way the system has been since, at least since sovereign finance ABC was involved. So this is the only way we know when it comes to how to participate in governance in Maker. But it personally, I do not believe this is like the perfect way, because what is a big issue is, like, sometimes the ones that are participating more or dedicating more time, it's not are not the ones that are, getting the right compensation. And I know that this is not just an issue here; it's an issue in many different places. Um, but maybe try to look for a better way to compensate in a like in like better than we have nowadays. That's why I put here: create a system more conducive to reward farming that active contribution. The negative repercussions for proposing changes led to a passive approach among ABCs, reducing initiative and innovation. Also, maybe you have noticed, like, at the beginning there were like more proposals, more discussions than now. And as before, this is not just to mention all the bad things. It's more. It's we want to have the approach of, okay, with all of these issues that we've seen, and again, here we are focusing on ABCs, but I think that it should be best to each of us, like the ones that are really involved, to know notice the same for all the different roles. Um, we can notice that also delegates' roles have changed, facilitators' roles have changed, meaning that a year ago it was different. So yeah, and not only ABC per se, but all of these in order to have like better roles for Maker in the near future. So we put a couple of recommendations. Grant ABCs more defined powers to request information and influence votes. I think one great help would be to have defined roles, and this happened at the beginning, but because of so many changes, yeah, that it now it's not that way. The same with delegates and with facilitators, and ideally with all the roles, right? To have defined roles, and if they are like upgraded, well, give them enough context so they can really work on their task. One main issue is that, okay, you are going to work on this, but there are no information, and they say like, "Okay, we're working on this," and we do understand, but also uh, this is for all of you to have a perspective of what's been like having like being on ABCs lately has been, like the struggles we've had. Yeah, number two is ensure ABCs can engage across all relevant articles of scope, not just Article 1. This has been again a very incredible massive issue, um, because it just reduces to a specific section, and when we want to involve into different proposals or having different changes, of course it reduces our, like we cannot um how can I say this, we cannot be in the whole or be part of uh the changes of all the atlas, just because we have, and it's stipulated as well, that we just have to focus on article 1. So that's one. Yeah. So Piper said Endgame has said centralization is goal, but it's yes. Again, in the ideal world, um with the comedies, and I'm pretty sure there will be new roles, um this will change, I want to believe. But maybe they don't know how. That's why sometimes like brainstorming it works, and I think that yeah, who better than us to share our issues, our struggles, so this doesn't happen again. And then reduce operational confidentiality where possible to enhance ABC contributions. Um, yes, at least for ABC members, maybe to the general public, okay, we cannot share this kind of information, but ABC members that once were one of the main roles, share with them the most important information so they can have context when creating proposals. That's one big um, advice. Implement regular briefings and updates for ABC's own confidential operations. It's kind of like similar. Establish a feedback mechanism on positions documents created by ABCs. And this also brings back something that I personally would have liked, and just it's something like it's an opinion, that okay, maybe not the biggest token holder, but um facilitators or people that works really close with the biggest stakeholder. I mean, with Rune, I mean, feedback. Um, at least live, I don't think Rune has ever been in an AVC call. Maybe he has seen the recordings. We don't know. But feedback is really important, and receiving feedback from the ones that really knows what they want from, in this case, an AVC, it's necessary. So we have been asking for feedback since the first quarter. We did receive from a lot of like delegates, community members, and we appreciate that. But I think it's also important to from yeah, let's say the ones that have the most power or the biggest authority, and the protocol should also um, give us feedback so we can produce the work they want us to. So yeah, that's an opinion of mine. Um, Set clear objectives and provide guidance for ABCs for upcoming quarters to align efforts with our priorities. I think that we with the different ABCs, and this was since like the beginning, everyone was in their own paths, and they were like paving their own paths. And since this was a very brand new role, and again, all of this experimentation, right? We were like, okay, how can we present our documents the best way? We didn't have a structure. We didn't have a structure for the proposals or for the strategy document. And I think we all of the ABCs, not just sovereign finance, all ABCs like try their best in showing the effort that we've been working throughout the quarter in the documents. But maybe having like a I don't know, like an example, right? Like a template for this, or be very specific what you want in the document. And yes, in the scope, you see that okay, you have these number of lines that you need to write about your strategy, and yes, but the more details that you give someone, the better they can produce a document. So we've changed our the way of like our documents, I think twice or three times. Because at the beginning we were like very like a constitution. We have like, okay, section 1 1. We don't know which one is better. But we have tried to work also in the way that Maker has evolved, and that includes, of course, every stage of endgame. And yes, we are still in the pregame, but I mean, it has been a lot of changes. So yes, limit the frequency of requests AVCs can make to governance facilitators to avoid overwhelming them, while ensuring AVCs are not ignored. There was a specific time, you might remember, there was this calls that we had with Rune that was aimed to have for facilitators and for delegates, and then AVCs were included, right? But there was like a very period of time with yes, where like okay, all the attention goes to facilitators and ADs, and it's of course it's very obvious the reason why, um, uh, but uh, this of left letting a role that is also important just by themselves is not the right way, I believe. So yeah, um just to mention, these are just like a couple of things that I'm reading. GLDR AVC is actually great, thank you. And we are also going to mention all of these. We are in. I'm pretty sure that all the AVCs are going to are going to do something similar, like your experience. Again, I encourage all the AVC members to do something like this, because there's no one else than us as AVC members that can know this like all the work that we've been through, and how we can in the future. We don't know much about the committees, and if there are any other roles in the future, which would be ideal if we want more participants in governance. And since we have learned, at least I had to learn all of this, I didn't know much, and so it is important that they know our they receive a feedback. And if you could also add that into your final document, I recommend that. We're going to work on this as well apart from the proposal, and if there is any other proposal relevant, again, this is the last time that you're gonna have this as an ABC you might find important for maker in general, please let us know. I don't know if there's any other topic that any like someone would like to add. Or before ending this, I don't know if Paper, you would like to say something. Okay. So again, thank you so much. I think that this is we have okay. I think that this we have just a couple of weeks before we finish our role. If you didn't know, as sovereign finance, it's been exactly a year because we started in 15 May. So yeah, it's been a whole year of our role as an ABC. That will be all for today. And we are going to see you, we're going to continue our calls next week. And we are also, please, this is important, we're also going to share beforehand the proposal, like the final proposal, so we can receive feedback. And please, this is the last time again. So we expect a lot of comments, insights in the document that we'll be sharing in a couple of days. As always in the forum, as always in Discord, you will know about it. So yes, that will be all for today. Thank you so much for joining us.